us about Swallowed.
Yeah, Swallowed is, you want me looking at you, right? Okay, so yeah, Swallowed is a sort of love story hiding inside of a movie about a drug run gone horribly wrong. It's kind of tender and kind of horrific and sweet and slimy, and it has a lot of contrast like that.
And there's obviously an LGBTQ theme. What made that the right method to help tell your story?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm been queer since I've been loving horror movies, and so I'm a big fan of actually the power of seeing people like yourself in the movies you love, and it doesn't happen often enough, I feel like. I mean, we're like the campy sidekick, or like we're the first one to die, or like, but rarely do we get like fully fleshed performances and characters that like where the movie's not about them being gay, where it's just like part of the character. And so, I made the movie that I wanted to see, and then, hopefully other people want to see it too.
And so when you're sort of sitting and writing a story like this that is going to take you to some kind of horrific places, can you tell us a little bit about the process? Is it fun for you writing, and did you just have to allow yourself your imagination just to go wild?
With this project in particular, from the beginning, this was sort of created as a project that I could go out and make on a micro budget level. So normally I would write and it would be fun, and I would, if I wanted an explosion, I would write an explosion. With this movie, it was like, okay, what do I have? I have a white Jeep. I have a off-the-grid camp in the woods. I have Jenna Malone's phone number. I have I very much created it knowing what I had available to me, and tried very much to keep the story in a world where I knew it would be possible. If all else failed, I could go and make it with some friends and kind of have fun with it.
Well, then what's interesting and really important, what you're talking about there, is kind of reversing, I suppose, the traditional way where we would write stories and get films made. You're looking at it from a very practical point of view, and therefore, that's quite inspiring to other filmmakers to go, actually, thinking outside the box isn't necessarily about what you're telling in the story, but working within the confines that you've got.
Yeah, and figuring out what story you can tell with those resources. I mean, my first film was The Ruins, and it was a big studio movie, and in a lot of ways I figured that a movie like Swallowed would be my first film, and I've sort of gotten smaller and smaller, and there's something, I've spent a lot of time and energy on projects that have been in development and have ended up not going for one reason or another, and there's something really exciting and really liberating about knowing that I can write a movie and go out and make it and end up at FrightFest. That's pretty exciting.
It really is. And, tell us a little bit about being here at FrightFest, because, it's now, you're introducing your film to an international audience and the importance of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so interesting to see how audiences react to it. I mean, we've played at a bunch of genre festivals so far, and I think that genre fans are just the warmest, most lovely. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm warm and lovely necessarily, but
yes, you are.
But you know what I mean. Like they're accepting and they're open and they're sort of excited to see new stuff, and that's kind of amazing, because I feel like, I mean, sure, there are some people that will see the description and see that it says queer horror and maybe think, oh, that's not for me. But the ones that will show up and see the film. I mean, one of the best compliments that I've gotten is from, a middle-aged, straight, white horror fan, and he was like, this is the first time that I have felt fully engaged in that story that had nothing to do with who I identify as, and that was such a wonderful thing to hear from a horror fan.